Have you ever had a near-death experience? Or perhaps someone you know may have had a near-death experience? Well, if so, we would love to hear your story and have you as a guest on our podcast. For more information, visit NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world. We would love to hear your story.
Welcome to the NDE Podcast, where we explore the magical, mystical, and spiritual world of near-death experiences. And now, Ashton Lewis and Daphne Lynn.
Welcome back to the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and my lovely co-host, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Daphne Lynn.
Hello, Ashton Lewis. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Excited about another episode on the NDE World, where we actually study and review near-death experiences and really comment on the elements and break them down for those who have these kind of experience, could maybe have a little bit more understanding about what they're experiencing. And we always let everybody know that every single NDE or near-death experience is individual. It is very specifically to that individual.
Catered to the individual, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are you doing today, Daphne?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Just really looking forward to the day. It's beautiful outside. The sun's shining. After about a week or more of no sunshine, I'm ready to hit the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. You can definitely hit it later or something.
Put that on the agenda for the day.
Yeah, that's nice. It's really nice out there. It's beautiful. But like I say, every day is beautiful, regardless of the weather.
That's right.
All right, so in this episode, it's going to be like we call our Cocoa Chat, I think it is. Yeah, Cocoa Chat. I don't know. Well, that's just what we call it. But anyway, it's where we come in and we actually go over different types of NDEs and things like that and comment on it. And this particular episode, we're going to go ahead and do that. And we always let everybody know that they do come from the NDERF, which is NDERF.org site. Definitely go over there to get more information. Those are real live experiences, and they're documented and medically and scientifically and things. So definitely go over there and check that out. And don't forget, if you have had an NDE, or if you know somebody that has had an NDE, definitely contact us, and we would love to hear your story. Just go over to our website, NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world, and send us an email, and we will definitely get back with you. We'd love to have you on our show. So.
And exactly. I mean, I always got to throw in there, even if you haven't had an NDE or anything like that, but an actual extraordinary experience.
OBEs,
I mean,
yeah.
Anything that's extraordinary, OBE, share those stories with us. We love to hear this. We don't think you're crazy. We totally know and understand, this point of life.
We don't think you're crazy. We know you're crazy. You fit right in with us.
We that kind of crazy, but we know what it is. Yeah.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. There's a good kind of crazy and there's a bad kind of crazy. We all the good kind of crazy.
It's all good. It's all good. But we'd love to hear you. So go over to NDE.world and definitely contact us, guys. We'd love to have you on the show. So let's go ahead and play our first clip for the day and see what kind of nuggets we can pull out of it. How's that sound, Daphne?
Let's get some nugs, baby.
Let's do it. And we are rolling.
He asked me if I knew that I was dead. I said, well, yes. I guess I know that I'm dead. I asked him, please tell me. When we, your children, come into existence, do we live just one time or do we live over and over? He said, it's like this. He took me to the entrance of a hall. We stood and looked down this long hall, and there were millions and millions of doorways leading off this hall. He made me aware that there were many choices available to me, and that choice was the very answer to the question I had asked. The choice was up to me. He made me understand that I could choose to stay where I was, that I could choose to walk down that hall and pick a door. He made me aware that picking a door would be my exit out of heaven and I would be born again out of the womb of some woman somewhere on earth. I asked him, but how do I know what door to pick? His reply was merely that the door that I picked is my choice. He could not reveal what that life would be like. It would be a mystery. I asked him, do we have to pick another door and live over and over? That in itself would be hell to me, because what I had experienced, in large part, was very sad and distressful. He told me some people choose to go back again and again. He doesn't want them to. He wants them to stay with him, but he understands my feelings. He explained that when we choose to leave him, he removes all memories of previous lives, because he doesn't want us distressed. He means for life to be a good thing for all of us. He then reiterated all my choices and again infused me with his love. He then asked, now, why would you want to leave me? I don't remember responding. He asked, now, how do you feel about being dead? I said that it really didn't bother me that much, but that my only regret was that I hadn't had the chance to say goodbye to my parents. The poisoning caused distress, loss of hearing, loss of motor skills, and eventually, I slipped into blackness. I immediately descended as if in a speeding elevator car. My only sensation was that of being taken downward in total darkness, total silence. When the descent ended, I was in the deepest, darkest void I had ever experienced. Suddenly, everything became clear to me. I was dead. I had been created by God. God was a reality, but I was not with him. As it turned out, he was with me, but I did not know that yet. I tried to see but could not. I began to hear noise, and what I heard was extremely distressing and eventually unbearable. As the noise grew in intensity, I realized it was voices. The countless voices of many, many souls, saying nothing, only weeping and wailing. It was the most anguished, pathetic sound I had ever heard. With every passing moment, it grew until I imagined their numbers were in the millions. It was unbearable. I had to get out of this place. But how? I had no body and no voice. Finally, somewhere deep down in my spirit, I screamed as hard as I could. I heard my own voice echoing on, God, help me. The next thing that happened was a gigantic hand came down and moved under me and lifted me out of that abyss. I was then taken up and up. The anguished voices faded and all was quiet. I saw again and realized I was passing up away from the earth. In moments, I had arrived at a certain destination and was confused. I was concerned about what had happened to me, that is, what had happened to my body. I found myself facing a group of people that I felt that I knew somehow. It seemed I had known them from a very long time ago. I knew they knew who I was. It seemed they loved me very much and were extremely happy to see me. I couldn't make out their faces, but I was sure I had known them and loved them somewhere, sometime. One of them seemed to be my grandmother, but try as I might, I could not make out her face. The very next thing that I became aware of, amazingly, remarkably, astoundingly, was that once again I was in my old body without realizing I had made my choice. I chose to leave my all-loving, all-accepting Heavenly Father in order to come back and say goodbye to my parents. My God, what had I given up? I became so horrified, distressed, and depressed beyond words. But here I was again back in this world. I chose the life I mapped out for myself. It's exactly what I got, to say goodbye to my parents. And so the story goes. My dad died 4 years later. I'm still saying goodbye to my mom. I kept asking them, what about Kathy? I was so concerned about what had happened to me. The others told me not to worry about her, my body, my former self. They told me I was there with them and that was all that mattered. They told me I had to talk to him and pointed to a man who was off in the distance. I was immediately in his presence and we talked at length. I couldn't hear his voice, but his thoughts instantly transferred to my consciousness and mind to his. I remember asking him how I came to be here. He told me that he had created me, that it was his desire for me to be there with him. I told him this place was far too wonderful and I knew I had not done anything in my life to deserve being there in that beautiful place with him. Once again, he told me that he had created my spirit in the beginning and had always longed for me to be there with him. I insisted to him that I was undeserving of his love and that I didn't think I should be there. He began answering questions for me. He made me understand that he created me and that he loved me so very much. His spirit passed through my spirit with his incredible love. I came to realize that the love I had just experienced from my Creator was unlike any love I had ever known on earth, even that of my grandmother, who loved me dearly. Her love could not compare with the love this Father of mine had just revealed to me. I knew that he had the answers to all questions, so I began to ask him things I had wondered about the most. Why is there evil? His reply, because there is good. I asked how anyone, being what they are, be permitted to exist in this home of God. He made me understand that he knew everything about me, that I was who I was because he himself had designed me to be exactly, precisely who I was, and that whatever I was still his creation, his child, and he loved me so very much.
Very good, and we are back. That's a nice one. That's
Hybrid.
A nice one. Yes, we definitely got a hybrid here in the pack. And for those of you out there who don't know what a hybrid is a kind of a combination, a combination in near-death experience where they experience joy, bliss, and things like that, but they also the distressing, or the DNDE, the distressing or distressed near-death experience as well. And notice she said the void.
Yes.
She experienced the void, and then the
total darkness,
voices and all that stuff, and yeah. So, and it seems to me from my memory, of course, it didn't guarantee everything because it is my memory, but it seems that the distressed near-death experiences, will take you to those dark places, but you usually come out of that and go back into the light.
Some do, some don't, though.
Okay, that's what it is. So some do and some don't. Okay,
right.
Thank you for clarifying. So I like how what I liked about this one is the questions, that she was actually asking God or asking Source, like, tell me, do we live just once or over and over?
Yeah, that's reincarnation right there. I mean,
I like the analogy
Creator,
that they used there as far as the hallway.
yeah, that's where I was trying to go with it. Yeah, the many doorways down this one hallway.
Like millions, yeah.
Millions. So yeah, and that's actually a reference in the Remember book to what time is. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty interesting there. But being born again over and over, some people choose to go back, and some choose to stay with the source, yeah.
With God, yeah. And I like to say that you pick the door. You pick a door, exit out of heaven into a womb of a woman.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Let's close in on that little section right there for a moment, and give me some feedback on that, because think about it. Let me read it again. You pick a door to exit, and we know this is all metaphor and all, but you exit out of heaven into a womb of a woman. How can you tie that in with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, the pre-birth stuff?
Well, it kind of just, you picking it, I guess that's all the different doorways there, that you can choose. Once you go through that door, your soul contract, is what it's kind of, to me, leading up to. But if you choose to go back and choose one of those doorways to go through, then the source takes your memories, because he doesn't want you to be stressed.
Right.
So that's very interesting, that, he still cares about us so much that he don't want that overflooding our memories and all. But there are those that do remember their past lives. There's a Mateo guy that remembers his past lives. That's all over YouTube. And there's many others that remember things of their past lives.
Very good. Very good. So now we get into the dun, 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 the distressed NDE.
Total darkness.
So everything was going good, and then all of a sudden, what happens?
The void.
Next, notice herself downward into total darkness, into the void. And like we've talked about on previous episodes, the void falls under the NDE, or the distress NDE,
Yes.
because it's just a blackness. There's
Yep.
nothing there. It's not the light and God and the beings and things like that. But it did notice that the guy said God was always there with them.
That was my
Did you
next
notice that?
comment. Yes, that she knew that he was there with her, but she didn't realize he was there with her. And that in that void, in that place, was very distressing. She heard weeping and voices wailing that she finally determined was in the millions, that it was unbearable for her.
Yep.
And how was she going to get out? She said deep within her, she let out a scream for God to help her. And at that moment, guess what? Help arrived. That giant hand reached in, and the voices started fading, and she was going past Earth.
And then it talks about there was beings that were extremely happy to see her.
Mm-hmm. But she didn't know those beings, but she felt that she knew them.
Right.
They were known but
So one
unknown
of
to her.
them might be grandmother or something like that.
Yeah, one of them was a grandmother. Yeah.
Could have been. Which kind of reminds me, we were talking about earlier, I was reading a near-death experience here recently, and it was brought out a really good point how you may have been the grandmother, how on the other side you recognize them as your grandmother, but that's the spirit of the grandmother. That same spirit could have been your sister in another life, or that same spirit could have been
It was like
a brother in another life.
In the
It could
reincarnation,
be
you have the
any
kind
of
of same
those.
people in your
Yeah.
life as different characters.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Very fascinating. Very fascinating as well. So now, what about where it says, of course, they chose to come back, and once they did that, after being in the bliss world for a while, they became horrified and
That she had
depressed that
left.
they chose this life, and
It's what she said was horrified that she had left, and I like the fact that she said that he told her that he created her and longed for her to be there with him. She kept calling him the father of mine.
This was the other man, right? Or this was like after she called for God to help, and the hand reached down and pulled her up. It's very extremely happy to see her. But it says that that she talked to the man telepathically in conversation. So I did notice that.
Yeah, those instant downloads of knowledge and communication.
Yeah. And then she asked him another question, which again, like I said, that's what I liked about this NDE. I like the ones that ask the questions because you can get those secret nuggets from the spirit world, and they're all the same. The spirit answers. That's why I know this is more real than satellite religion, because religion has so many different beliefs and different dogmas and different ideas. But anyway, she asked this being, which she said it was a man, but she's telepathically in conversation, how I came to be there. And his desire, he said that it was his desire that he created her.
Right.
And she said she didn't deserve to be there.
Right.
Yep. And he said that he created her spirit from the beginning. And he created you because he loves you.
And that she's loved no matter what.
Yeah.
So no matter what we have done on our life according to these NDEs from Source Creator, no matter what we have done, we are welcome there. Whereas religion teaches that you will be separate from Source, from the God that you know, if you've done evil and done bad. So that's a beauty on this side of it, is that, we are all part of Source, and He wants us back, and we go back to Him, but without all the bad and negative. We have to go through the purge.
I'll go back to it that is appearing as a him.
Right. I say Him, but
I understand what you're saying.
The Source, the Spirit.
So I like the question here. Why is there evil? It's because there's good. In other words, one can't exist without the other.
But that's human construct on this side.
Not
But it was in ways that she could understand.
That she could understand it, yeah. But it's really, why is there evil? Because there is good. Mm-hmm. That's not a human construct. You're talking about life itself. You're talking even getting back into the principles of hermetics. You're talking about the Egyptian.
Dualism.
You're talking about,
Polarity.
Yin and yang, yeah. Well, those exist. That's not the world that we've created as far as the black and white dualism.
Right.
These are things that exist in life that have to exist, or nothing else would exist.
It gets deep.
It does. It really does.
And you got to be willing to go there. To accept that. Because we have our BSs, our belief systems. That, are ever changing. From what you believed as a child and as a teenager, you're going through phases of change. There's no reason to stop changing your belief systems.
No,
No one is the solid way. Always be willing to be open to growing, taking in that knowledge.
That's right. Because there are things that you believe today that you may not have believed yesterday, and there are things tomorrow that you won't believe. It's going to be different than what you believe today, should I say.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
The thing about beliefs come and go. They change. They're not solid. They're nothing to stand or to base anything on.
Exactly.
It's just belief. It's just something you believe in. And you can believe something today, but that is no guarantee that you will believe that same thing tomorrow.
And I love the point that I have just one sentence on this wrote down, but there was more to the story. Maybe you picked up on and wrote down more than I did on it. But that the Creator's Spirit passed through her spirit.
That's right. I did get that. Yeah. It was a few sentences back, but yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't catch any more than that. But I thought that was interesting that the spirits pass with each other.
Well, yeah.
That maybe becoming one again.
Yeah. His love or energy or spirit passed through her. So, and that she felt that love that they always explain, that unconditional, only they explain it as God,
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Looking at the clock, we've got time for another one. Let's go ahead and do another one real quick here, and we got it. It's actually going to be a little bit shorter, so we got plenty of time. Let's go ahead and bring another one in, and we'll go ahead and check that out. How's it sound?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, and we are rolling.
When I started having my heart attack, as I was lying in the floor unable to move, I was afraid because I knew I was dying and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. I won't bore you with the ride to the hospital and the treatments I received. Suffice to say I was overcome by the black veil of death. How ironic, that's exactly what it is. After I realized I was on the other side and my fears subsided a little, I realized that I had made a painless transition because you no longer feel the weight or trappings of your body. I was in total darkness that had put my panic emotion in overdrive. As I slowly began to acclimatize myself to my surroundings, I could feel evil slithering and crawling in the darkness all around me. I had only one thought going on inside me, that being that they are looking for me. I was terrified and started looking for the light I thought was supposed to be here. I moved around as slowly and silently as possible looking for the light. I noticed it was lighter in one direction and started to move that way when I felt extreme aggression emanating from the right of me. Fearful of moving towards the light and highlighting myself with the light, I instead withdrew into the darker shadow and stayed still. As I lay there listening to the scuttling and scurrying of all the evil feelings in the darkness around me, I tried to figure out what to do next. I knew if I moved from the amount of activity that was going on around me, that I would be discovered. I was at my wit's end when I said, "God help me." Instantly, everything around me went scurrying off in every direction, and that was when I felt it. It is a feeling of perfect love and trust. A feeling so strong that it could be felt so far away that traveling at supersonic speeds it would take half an hour to get there. The closer it came, the stronger the feeling became, until this immense feeling totally engulfed me in ecstasy so intense as to be unimaginable, for lack of better words, and lifted me by my elbows above the darkness, and away we went, me being supported by two beings that felt better than a mother's breast to a newborn. I looked up at my benefactors and found that they were dressed in black gowns and had a screen over their faces that, if you looked closely, had a mirror-like substance that reflected your own image back at you. They were giving me reassurances through feelings and music that was like talking, only better than language. There is nothing to learn you can understand totally. They stopped before something I couldn't make out what, as it seemed that when I looked past them everything was out of focus. One of them opened up what was as if a giant tobacco sack, made of suede leather, it was so soft. As she opened it, we all went inside and the sack closed over us. They then told me an immense amount of information in a gleaming. The gist of which is that this was my world and I controlled it and everything in it. I could bring anything I wanted into my world, no limits. It was mine to do with as I wished. The only rule was that if I removed something it could never come back. They then instructed me to picture in my mind a place that I felt safe. I did, and it developed right before my eyes. They then asked me if anything was wrong, and I saw a couple of things that were, and they instantly transformed, sort of like Mercury rearranging, until they were perfect, then they left. I started to explore my new world from the comfort of my oversized recliner and was really relaxing when suddenly they told me I had to go back to the other world for a while. I voiced my objections. They firmly lifted me out of the pod, and away we went. I looked around as we were leaving, as they said it was permitted of residents. I am unable to describe what I saw for lack of language to describe it. I wanted for a time after I got back to paint it, but lacked the talent to do so. Anyway, I was taken to a place where I could see my body through a black veil and was shoved feet first through the top of my head back into my body. When I opened my eyes, I was inside my body. It was in pain, and the doctor and a nurse were asking me if I knew where I was. The doctor told me that I may have some broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder, among other things, and that I was on a balloon pump, and it looked like I was going to recover some of my memories and functions damaged by oxygen deprivation. I looked down at my chest, and it was discolored and swollen to resemble a football under the skin on the right side of my chest. I was uncomfortable, to say the least. I tried to move my right arm and heard this awful loud scream. I looked around. I was back behind the veil. Love and Truth were there, and they asked why I was back so soon. Then they laid what looked like a chrome flashlight on my chest. It played a colorful tone. My chest went down, and they asked if there was anything else I would like other than returning to my pod, as I like to call it. I said no, and they told me it would be there waiting on me, and then I was back.
And we are back.
Interesting. Two hybrids back to back. Wow.
Yeah. This one started out with more leaning a little bit more to the distressed. I think he kind of started out with that. Would you like to comment on that? Talking about that, like the black veil of death.
Yeah. But it was a painless transition.
It was painless. Yep.
Yeah, and he talked about the weight and trappings of his body.
No longer felt the
He no longer
weight.
felt that. So, but immediately felt
The
evil
darkness.
and darkness around him.
Yeah.
and he started looking for the light.
Was terrified, looking for the light.
Yeah. He felt an aggression.
Extreme aggression, yeah.
Extreme aggression, yeah.
The
And
evil and the darkness.
and you see this in a lot of these when they are in that dark, that when they finally ask for help comes.
Yes.
You know, so he finally said, God help me. And that's when he started feeling that perfect love and trust. Unimaginable trust and love.
Total ecstasy engulfed in love.
Mm-hmm.
Then, what about the two beings
In black gowns is another
gowns?
black instance. So
Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean,
and I just mentioned earlier on the other one that I've never
never
heard
heard of it.
of
Yeah,
black.
and here's another one. So
Yeah, so maybe they're more often. I'll just kind of start listening more for them now that we're more aware of them.
be
So
aware of it.
the beings in black, but
oh.
what about their faces were like mirrors that reflected
Reflecting.
your face?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That's the first time of hearing that. So it's very interesting. Maybe it's reflecting our own thoughts and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know on that one. But I love the fact that they were reassuring.
Yeah.
Reassuring. And there was nothing to learn.
Right.
Wow.
Because you already know everything.
You already learned it.
And the leather, the suede leather sack. They remember that the sack had closed in over them.
He went into it and it closed over him. And that this was a controlled world by him.
Realized this world, yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, "I did what I wish."
Yeah, I could create anything there.
That's what he told him. He says, "Think of a place that felt safe," and
Right.
it says, "Explore new world,"
And from the comfort of his own recliner.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome experience there. If you got your own recliner there, man, that's a place to be.
Yes,
in
and
comfort.
what about? And they told him, "Well, you're going to have to go back, buddy." And what happened? The objection.
Yeah.
We're going to name that part the objection because that is
Yes.
so common. The
Yes,
objection that
yes.
people do not want to come back to this world after getting a taste of the blissful life.
Now he did mention something in this one that I caught that I have been hearing a lot of in some of the stories, is that he re-entered through the top of the head. Now,
I've also heard sometimes that you go out of the top as well.
yes, that's what I was going to say. That is the entrance and exit point
Okay.
for the spirit, and that's what I've been hearing and reading. Nicole Kerr says that in her book and stuff. She describes that entrance and exits through the top of the
Crown
head.
chakra, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But I love there was all love and truth there, and he had to go back, but came back. And why are you here so soon?
Yeah. And like they said, words can't describe what he saw, and that's very common in all these as well. You don't have the words in our English language or any language to describe anything on the other side, should I say?
Yeah, he mentioned a chrome flashlight being placed on his chest with music playing.
Think about that.
This has got to be something specifically for him that he's going to relate to, because to me that makes absolutely no sense why a chrome flashlight that played music. For him, it's something that he
That's
needed.
what he needed. Correct. That's the way it works. That's the
yeah.
beauty of it all.
Yeah,
Not like
exactly.
everybody has to follow the same thing and do the same thing. It's everybody's different. And that's the beauty of it. But we're all one, but we're all different.
Exactly. And he said upon returning to his pod, that's the first time I've heard the body related
His
to as a pod. I
pod.
hear avatar and
Yeah.
the physical being and all, but I thought that was pretty cool. The return to the pod.
Return to the pod, yeah, and it's just a nice metaphor that he used to let us know that that you are separate from your pod or your avatar or your body. It's something totally
Exactly.
different.
We are greater than this physical being, and so many of us get trapped in this physical being is all there is.
Right, and it's not.
They don't realize that we are spirit, we are soul,
And we keep going
and keep going
growing.
and going like the Energized
And
Bunny.
think about that. And we're going to close on this thought because it's about time to wrap things up. think about this, the life that you're living right now, and 26 gazillion years from now, I mean, what is it going to be in the big picture? I mean, are you going to really even remember all these things or all these accomplishments or all these big things you did? No.
No, crossover time.
It's all about love.
Yes.
How much did you love? How much did you put out the love and love others and get loved and all that? It's what it's all about. It really is. So, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We are so grateful that you came out and hung out with us today on the NDE World Podcast. And don't forget to go over to NDE.world to contact us and let us know what your story is. If you've had any kind of out-of-body experience or any kind of special spiritual experience or any kind of near-death experience, or maybe you know somebody who has, definitely let us know. We'd love to hear your story.
Yes, we love to hear you guys' story. That just helps us all connect.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, I look forward to more people contacting us.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, okay, perfect. So we love you all, and may peace be with you all. And until next time,
Let your light shine.
For more information about the NDE World Podcast, visit NDE.world. That's NDE.world.